Sesame Street to feature Billy Porter in drag on the famous children's show.
Doors closing.
This is just a sad case, but it's not anything new from Sesame Street. We all grew up on Sesame Street. I don't recall seeing a guy wear a dress on Sesame Street as a kid. But, they got this new tolerant movement, let's love and let's include everybody and all of that stuff, which it's a very noble thought, which I understand. But when you start adding mental illness and trying to impose mental illness on children, that becomes a problem. And you may wonder why I'm equating dressing up in drag or being sexually confused as mental illness. And I got some statistics here that will support that statement. Children deal with enough stress, and I'm going to drop that just for a second and say as a sidebar, when you add sexuality into a situation, that's a level of stress that does not have to be. And this goes for young adults as well, especially college age. You just graduating high school, or you trying to finish high school and you going on into your college your college career. Why would you add the level of stress that is having a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Because at that age, if we're not dating for the intent of marriage, we setting ourselves up for failure. And you can try to turn a blind eye to it. You can object if you want, but the fact remains that oftentimes young adults, 17, 18, 19, all the way up until about 25, you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they get their hearts broke somewhere along the way, and that shapes the mentality and the mindset of who they are as adults. And that's how we get the trust no one attitude. That's how we get the whole cheating is just a part of the relationship attitude. And then think of this even more so importantly. You trying to get your midterms in on time. You trying to get your grades straight. You trying to make sure you got all of your credits and you're trying to get to school on time. And college and school is stressful enough. Why would you add in sexuality and love? Because think about it. How often do young adults get their heart broke when they got a boyfriend? And I just feel like as a young adult, you should strongly reconsider allowing somebody to breach the gateway of your heart like that. Don't give yourself that kind of stress, because I don't know what the percentages are, but it's very high among young women who get a boyfriend and they think they so in love, they giving all of their emotions, especially fatherless young women who grew up without fathers. They give all of this time and devotion and thought and just love. And women love hard, and then that young man breaks their heart. They find him with another woman, or he has sex with him and then leaves him, or they've been together for months. And then that's a really to me that's really pertinent, because these relationships go on for months, even years sometimes. Now say you get with a person that's 16 or 17 years old and y'all don't break up till you 20 or 19. But the way y'all broke up was he left you for another girl, or he got another woman pregnant. And now you don't want to be with this person no more. But your heart was tied to him. Now you are emotionally scarred, and it's shaping who you become as a wife, as a woman. And the same thing goes for young men. It's shaping who you become as a man. You can't even trust women anymore. So you losing the ability to love, or your ability to love a woman correctly is starting to erode, because you don't trust women, because your heart got broken when you were 16 or 17 or 18 or 19. And it's just a level of stress that does not have to be. So I think as young adults, we should strongly reconsider dating. You don't need a boyfriend. You don't need a girlfriend. That is something It's just there for leisure. It's just there for pleasure. Yeah, it feels good to bust a nut. It feels good to have sex. It feels good to feel on a woman's breast and have a good woman, a good smelling woman up next to you, and all of that's. I mean, it feels good, but it's not necessary. You don't need those things as a young man. And I know it's a tough subject to even think about and deal with. And I dated as a young adult. I've been with my wife since I was 15 years old. But there's scars that you're gonna subject yourself to at that age that just don't need to be. And with that said, why would you impose mental illness on these children? Think about it. Children have enough stress to deal with as it is. They have learning disabilities to overcome, stuttering problems. Some of them not so good at math. Some of them not so good at reading. Some of them just have problem focusing. Some of them don't do well in big crowds. And all of these things could attribute or contribute to them not succeeding. That's stressful. It can be stressful on a 7-year-old if he just ain't getting his work right. Everything he trying so hard, he just can't get his work right. They also dealing with divorce, and you think that divorce does not affect your children. You're being very naive. I mean, the term husband means house band. You the thing that's keeping everything together in this house. And so how you going to break that band without ruining everybody inside? I mean, a child just for his 52 months of existence have been seeing mommy and daddy, mommy and daddy, mommy and daddy. Now all of a sudden he's waking up and daddy's not around. And he can only see dad when mama's not around. And he has to drive 30 minutes away just to see dad for only a couple days. Then he has to go back to mom. I mean, that's stressful. That's stressful on a child. So why would you add sexuality? Why would you start talking about who likes them and who they should be in love with? Or, well, maybe you're not really a boy. What other reason would you tell a child maybe you're not really a boy? Maybe you're not really a girl? Or, maybe you can be both. What other reason would you tell a child that other than you're led by a devil? You can't call it love and tolerance. You can show love and tolerance to homosexuals in a vast majority of other ways than also giving that to a child. Telling him, well, maybe you should wear the pink dress today, Billy. That's wrong. And I don't really, I'm not going to apologize for my position on this, because why are you telling a 5-year-old about sexuality? What do they need to know? They need to be thinking about glitter rings, rainbows, trampolines, dinosaurs, dragons, rocket ships, orange juice, hoverboards, hula hoops, skates. I mean, this is what kids think about. And then you're going to bring in penis. All of those things I just named, you throw a penis in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. What other reason would you do that other than you led by a devil? Because God is not the author of confusion. And the child wasn't confused before. He was already thinking about rocket ships and trampolines and bikes and rolling around in the grass, and then he vagina. And he's thinking, what? You know what I'm saying? Now he's confused. You know what I'm saying? Or you got this weird family member who he knows he got this nice little identity as a boy. Then you want to throw the confusion in there. Well, boys can play with dolls and boys can wear dresses too. Who says boys can't wear dresses? And now he don't know which way to go. He's confused. God is not the author of confusion. Just think about this study. 42% of gender confused youth claim to have attempted suicide. Now, we're not even including the number of kids who were successful in that suicide and weren't even around to be polled. The number could be astronomical. They 2018 study from the University of Arizona, and they talked to over 120,000 adolescents between the ages 11 and 19. So the numbers could be off the charts if we include the people who actually killed themselves because they were confused about this gender confusion. 50.8%. So we're gonna round that up to a safe 51% of Transmasculine. Now, I almost messed that word up because I had never heard it before. I had to look it up, see what it means. That's women, young women who think they should be men or that they are men. They're confused about their gender. Again, it's confusion, and God is not the author of confusion. 51% of them. So if you had 10 of them in a group, in a room, at least 5 of them have made an attempt on their lives. At least 5 of them. These are women, young women who think that they should be men or that identify as a man. 50%, 51%, that's the majority. 51% is a majority. So if you had 10 of them in a room, 5 of them have made an attempt on their lives. 30% of trans feminine, that's young men who dress in drag like Billy Porter and like Sesame Street is trying to breed through their avenue. 30% of them have made an attempt on their lives. 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. I would say that's an epidemic. I would say that's a mental illness, because if we see a person making an attempt on their lives, either we know one thing: either they are mentally unstable, whether that be through stress because they owe somebody a bunch of money, or they've done something that they know they're going to have to pay for, or they're on drugs. That's a mental illness. And so we got all of these adolescents, children. These are babies, man. These are little kids who should be focusing on nothing but school and just having a good time. But they forced to have to deal with suicide, contemplating suicide, because we as adults want to introduce to them sexuality. A child has no place learning sexuality. And shame on Sesame Street. If you look at the comments, look at the comment section of this Billy Porter post. I think it was Instagram. And all of the parents, I know definitely on Facebook, all of the parents and older people who are applauding this, saying, yippee-ki-yay, this is great. A man's going to be in a dress in front of a bunch of little kids. You know, it's sad. It's sad. And they culpable. They culpable. 42% of gender-confused children are trying to kill themselves. So, how many of them in the near future have seen Grover wearing a dress, or going to see Billy Porter wearing a dress strictly just from Sesame Street, and later in life try to kill themselves? Now, we can't necessarily blame Sesame Street for a child making an attempt on their lives, but why would you contribute to that? Why would you contribute to that? Why is it that when we're dealing with children, we as people on the left and the right cannot allow just the issue with children to be neutral? I mean, this is what the left does. They always have a negative position on children. Either they're trying to kill them in their mother's womb, or they getting them confused about their sexuality, which clearly is leading to more of them making attempts on their lives. But again, this is the attack of the enemy, man. It's the ploy of the devil. It's sad. It's sad. And shame on Sesame Street for being an avenue to that. Shame on them. I'm Isaiah Gates, and you've been watching The Subway Train, the modern Underground Railroad.
Doors closing.